Hello team, I want to do an experiment today with and without the BioCor to see when we do the measurements from the BioWall, how is it really influencing our system? And once we are generating the sound file in the Chakra tab, we wanted to do a test to see if we just listen to it with our computer system, the speakers on the laptop or a headphone, how it would influence our energy. And if we did listen to the same file using the new BioCor, which is this new accessory that the BioWall has introduced to the market. And this translates the sound file into binaural beats. So then that way we can influence the energetic body more. So we did a quick test on this, and I'm here to share that experiment with you. I'm going to share my screen with you real quick, and we're going to go through a few of my results that I have gathered. Let me clear my window here for you so we can start a new, fresh experiment. So this was my baseline here. This was before listening to the sound file. And this was right after listening to the sound file. This was just by listening it through the speakers of my computer system. So if I do a comparison view here, you can come in here and take a look. So this is me before, 63 joules of energy, 97% balance. And you can see this was at 2:17 p.m. on 6/1. And this was done at 2:30 p.m. on 6/1. And we can see my balance went up to 97%. My energy stayed the same. So that's a clear indication of a positive influence on the balance of the entire system. So let's go through and see what we can see from this view here. And by looking at this graph over here, we can see that in some areas, you can see the orange line that's dipping in, and you see the purple line, it's just the after measurement, it's coming and it's correcting those issues in those areas. You see some corrections in these areas as well. The energetic body is just becoming more coherent. That's what it kind of looks like. Now let's go look at the chakras. And this is what we want to pay attention to. Before was the alignment of the system was at 87%. And as soon as we listened to the music and I measured myself, you can see dramatically how the influence of alignment went to 94%. And this is just by simply listening to this sound file that gets generated out of the different alignment of the chakras for different people. So that's a really good indication. We want to look at the analysis now. So in this case, we see actually my anxiety increased a little bit. I don't want to see that. But usually if you have a positive indication, then this would go lower and the system would become less stressed. So we need to pay attention to this to see why the anxiety went up a little bit. Now I do have some issues with my speakers on my laptop that creates a little bit of distortion. So I wonder if that could be the cause of this increased anxiety. If you look at the energy, you see that stayed the same. The balance between the left and the right hemisphere of the brain, we see that it increased. And I did feel sharper in my brain as far as like processing information. And we see the organ disbalance decreased as well, which is a positive indication of a positive change in the system, that the left and the right hemisphere of the brain came into more of a coherent state. And that's why the organ disbalance decreased. So this is another good indication. Now I want to go to my balanced view here. And this is usually another place that I check for positive influences. So this is telling us the sympathetic parasympathetic balance of a person. And on the baseline, I'm seeing number 3, 5, 9, and 24 are highlighted. And that means that there's some sort of a disruption of balance in those systems. And if you look down, number 3 is the colon, transverse colon. Number 5 is liver. Number 9 is the spine. And the 24 is the nervous system. So we want to see how this was influenced in the after picture. And that's a clear indication. As you see, there's a less number of highlighted fields. So that means that there's more coherence in the system. And now we only see 2 of these areas that are showing a little bit of a misbalance. So that was another positive indication of just listening to it by the speaker. It does have a positive influence. The only thing we saw that I wasn't so happy about was the increase in anxiety here. So that's one thing we want to pay attention to. Now I want to share with you the results of a new test that I just did today. And that was with the BioCor. And we're actually producing the sound file and then sending it to the BioCor. Then it gets translated to binaural beats. And then now I did this new experiment that I will share the results with you. Let me clear this one out. Come to my recent. This was my baseline before BioCor test, and this is my after. So if I select these two, I can do a comparison and see what happened. So this was my before. This is my after. So right away, we see there was a shootout right around here, around the head area. That's decreased dramatically. We see more of a coherence around the flow of energy through the system. This side is more jaggedy. This side is just more coherent. And we look at the energy, total energy of the systems at 60 joules before and after was at 60 joules. But look at the balance. Went from 87% to 100%. And that's exactly what we want to see as far as a positive influence on the system. So now if we go to the energy field, we can see again, in some areas, we had shootouts from the orange. That means that increase of energy in those areas, and we see how it became coherent and those shootouts went away. And in some cases, we have disconnection of energy, like right around the head area. And we see that right afterwards, after listening to the sound file with the BioCor, we see that that energy got replenished here. Now let's go to the chakras. So this was our before, and we were at 89% balance. Look at after, 95% alignments. So that's another clear indication of a positive influence of energy to the system and creating more coherence within the system. Let's go to energy analysis. And this is a good, this is exactly what we want to see, that if something is working on the system, we should decrease the anxiety. And in this case, we can clearly see how the anxiety of the system went so much lower. And I'm dealing with allergies right now. So my anxiety is caused due to my allergic reaction to my environment. And we can see just by listening to the sound file, it was able to dramatically decrease my anxiety level. We look at the energy, see it stayed pretty much around the same. But once we look at the balance of the communication between the left and the right hemisphere of the brain, we see that that dramatically increased as well to almost 100%, 99.65. That's pretty amazing. And look at the organ disbalance here, that before we're more drawn to the left side of the system, indicating a right brain activity. And right after listening to the music file, we see that the organ disbalance came to minimal and into the optimal zone. So this is really, really powerful. Just by listening to a sound file through the BioCor system, we can introduce this much amazing healing frequencies to the body. Now let's look at the balance here. I'd like to see what happened there. This is the before. We see there's a lot of areas that are highlighted, indication of misbalance in the system. And you see right after, most of them went away and only 3 of them stayed. So that's a really, really positive indication that we create so much more coherence to the system and took the system out of the zone of stress and sympathetic, parasympathetic disbalance. I hope this was a useful experiment for you. And I hope that you enjoyed this testing and this sharing of knowledge. I will speak to you soon in another video to describe how we're influencing our energetic body. Have the most amazing day.